Books are one of the best ways to equip yourself with knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. And in today's video, I've got 5 potentially life-changing books to recommend to you. And I can guarantee you at least one of these books you've never heard of before. So in no specific order, let's begin with the first book, which is The Richest Man in Babylon. Essentially, the book is a series of short stories based in the ancient Babylonian Empire that teach very simple lessons about the secrets of building wealth. And this was one of the books that I read for the first time that had a really big impact on the way that I thought about money, investing, saving, building wealth. So what I want to do is just talk about some of the primary lessons in the book. This will give you a really good idea of what the book is about so that you can decide if you want to go and buy it for yourself or not. And by the way, they do have another version. It looks like this. I just happen to have the Platinum edition because I'm a nerd like that. The book actually centers around the story of Arkad, a poor scribe who eventually builds enough wealth to become the richest man in Babylon. Arkad has 7 secrets to building wealth that are told through stories in the book. The first secret is start thy purse to fattening. What in the world does that mean? Very simply put, the main idea behind this is to pay yourself first. The book recommends you save at least 10% of all of your income regardless of your expenses, even if you have debts to pay, right? Student loans, credit cards, personal loans. The book still advocates that you save at least 10% of your income. And obviously this money that you're setting aside and saving is not just gonna sit in your bank, you're gonna invest it. The second secret is control thy expenditures. This means to live within your means and avoid lifestyle inflation. When I first graduated from college and got a real job, whatever the heck that means, all of my friends around me were already buying new houses and cars and different luxuries that they could barely afford. In the meantime, I was using my money to begin businesses, to start investing, to make my money work for me so that one day I wouldn't have to work for money. By living below your means, saving more than you spend, and making the necessary sacrifices today, you'll inevitably set yourself up for a wealthier, much more prosperous future. The third secret is make thy gold multiply. This simply means invest your money. Start investing. I'm gonna move the book to the side here so that you guys can actually see it. I've got to show off the Platinum edition, you know. Fourth secret is guard thy treasures from loss, which means avoid investments that sound too good to be true. I think this is more relevant today than it has ever been. With the rise of NFTs, crypto, and scammers pretending to be me on Instagram, it's very easy to get tricked into making bad investment decisions. Some of the best investments ever are the most boring investments. Broad market, diversified ETFs, index funds, stocks, bonds. These are all things that are not nearly as exciting as a Bored Ape. Not that I'm against Bored Apes, but they are proven investments that do build wealth over time. And the fifth secret, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Now, this one is definitely debatable. It means own your home, own the place where you live so that you can start building equity. Secret number 6 is ensure a future income. This translates to invest for retirement, plan ahead for retirement. While you're young, time is on your side, you've got more energy, take advantage of that. The book talks about investing in things like real estate, land, life insurance, you know, things that are gonna pay you for the rest of your life, even when you're not here anymore. And the 7th and last secret is increase thy ability to earn. This one is my personal favorite because it means invest in yourself. I talked about this a lot in a video that I did recently about how to build wealth from zero. If you want to increase how much money you're earning, you have to increase how much value you're providing to the world. The more unique and irreplaceable you become, the higher you earn. That's kind of the general principle behind the last point. And so train yourself. Take a class, watch videos on YouTube, watch videos on Skillshare. I don't know, continue building up your skills so that you can make yourself that much more irreplaceable. The next book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of you may be already familiar with this book or have probably even read it, in which case I'm not really surprised. I would say this is probably one of the most popular personal finance / wealth building books ever written. The book basically follows 3 main characters, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the son of the poor dad, who happens to be the book's narrator and the author himself, Robert Kiyosaki. Throughout the book, the author learns lessons from both his biological dad, who happens to be the poor dad, and his best friend's dad, who happens to be the rich dad. The poor dad was actually a very educated man who went to an Ivy League school and held a doctorate degree. He worked a good job, got the occasional raise, vacation time off, sick leave, insurance, and all the benefits. But for some reason, he was still never able to get ahead financially. He was stuck in the rat race. The poor dad took a I can't afford it approach to life. If he wanted a nicer home or a nicer car or to go on an extra vacation or just more freedom. If his job didn't pay him enough money, then he would simply settle and say, I can't afford it. In contrast, the rich dad was very different. The rich dad was very skilled in investing, a business owner, owned real estate, the works. The rich dad, instead of settling with I can't afford it, would ask the question, how can I afford it? You see, because in life, regardless of your circumstances, ultimately, you get what you settle for. If you're okay with having an average job with an average income, then inevitably that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you want more in life, you want a higher income, more opportunity, more freedom, more flexibility. If you want those things, simply don't settle. The overarching theme of this book is to teach you how to use money as a tool for building wealth. It's essentially what the rich teach their kids that the poor and the middle class don't. The book destroys the myth that the rich are born rich. Yes, there are some people who are born into wealthy families and they're a little bit more fortunate, but anybody, if they have the desire and will, can build wealth from scratch. Ultimately, the author decides to internalize the beliefs and lessons from the rich dad over his poor dad. As a result, he went on to become wealthy himself in real life. I highly recommend the book for anybody who's actually interested in building wealth. This will definitely be a required reading in my house one day with my kids. The next book on the list is one that you've probably never heard of, and you'll probably hear nobody else talk about this, but I would say it's my top 3 favorite books of all time, and it's called Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell. Now, I do want to specify the author because there is another book with the same title that was written in 2020, but this book right here was published in the 1890s. The book tells a true story of an African farmer named Ali. Ali heard stories about farmers who discovered diamonds on their land and became rich beyond their greatest imagination. So, like a lot of us do, Ali became unsatisfied. He became discontent with his life because he wanted that same fortune for his own life. And so he sold his farm, left his family, and began his quest to find land that would lead him to riches. He searched for years through many lands far and wide, eventually becoming an old man who was depressed and lonely, and he simply could not live with himself any longer. One day, the successor of Ali, who was another farmer, was taking a stroll along the creek that ran through the land. He noticed a blue flash coming from inside the creek. So he knelt down, sifted through the water, and pulled a crystal object from the mud. He took it home, set it on the mantle above his fireplace, and quickly forgot about it. Several weeks later, a visitor stopped by the farmer's house and immediately noticed the muddy crystal on the mantle. He instantly became excited and told the farmer that it was a diamond. That farm eventually became one of the largest diamond mines in the world. Now, had the original farmer, Ali, simply taken the time to learn how to identify and look for diamonds, he would have had the fortune that he desperately wanted in his own backyard. The book points out the fact that we are all standing in our own acre of diamonds. You may think that you need to be connected to a certain person or to have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of social media followers to then become successful. However, what you're forgetting is that all those things, the money, the following, the connections, those are all just byproducts. They're byproducts of you focusing on yourself, how you can continue building your skills and your value. It's easy to look at somebody else's diamond farm and envy them, but just remember, you have your own diamond farm in your own backyard. You just have to recognize it. The next book is The Millionaire Next Door. The general premise behind this book is that what you see in pop culture and in movies about how millionaires look and act is for the most part actually quite false. The book's author and his colleagues spent about 20 years researching, surveying, and interviewing thousands of different millionaires to create a detailed profile of who exactly a typical millionaire is, and what they found is overwhelming. Many people who earn high incomes are actually not rich. In fact, they often fail to build any type of lasting wealth. They live hyper-consumer lifestyles, spending their money as fast as they earn it. They live in a house of cards. And so what happens when the money goes away? They become broke. And we know this is true because we see it happen all the time with the vast majority of athletes and lottery winners. Eventually, the money runs out and they're actually worse off now than they were before they even had the money. On the other hand, the wealthy typically have a high income with a frugal mindset. Now, they're not living as hermits per se, but they also aren't driving around in super flashy, expensive foreign cars, wearing high-end jewelry, and buying hyper expensive name brand clothing, such as this $405 plain white t-shirt. Oh, excuse me, of course, it has the tiny off-white logo on the front of it. That makes it worth it. The book goes on to describe various stats about millionaires, such as how 80% of America's millionaires are first-generation rich, meaning that they started from nothing just like most people, but just made better, more methodical decisions. The book also points out the fact that self-employed people are 4 times as likely to be millionaires than those who work for others. The biggest takeaway from this book, in my opinion, is the emphasis that it places on not only your ability to earn more money, but also save more money. Yes, Earning more money is critical, but if you're spending everything that you're earning, then you're not actually making any progress. You can still have nice things, but don't live a hyper-inflated lifestyle, the kind that you see on TV and in movies. A lot of times, that stuff is fake anyways. And the last book on the list is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Most of us, even if you weren't born into a poor family, were probably born into a family with parents who had a poor mindset. And because parents have a massive influence on our beliefs and personalities, it makes sense that a lot of people also grow up with these limiting beliefs. The main goal of this book is to reframe your mind, to break your preconditioned view of money, or as the book describes it, your money blueprint. Now, I do want to draw a very clear line here that there are several points that this book makes that are very controversial and I just disagree with. For example, the author gives dangerous advice that you should practice being wealthy before you actually are by splurging on expensive stuff and getting used to a rich mindset. Also, the author does constantly compare the rich versus the poor. Now, the way that I personally choose to interpret this is that the author is actually comparing somebody with a poor mindset versus somebody with a rich mindset. You don't have to be poor to have a poor mindset, just like you don't have to be rich to have a rich mindset. But your mindset is a direct reflection of who you become as a person if it goes unchecked. The book outlines 17 wealth files that you need to adjust in your mental programming if you want to build wealth. Now, I'm not going to go over all 17 of them, but we will go ahead and go over a few. The first is that rich people believe I create life, whereas poor people believe life happens to me. There is no denying it. Life is full of surprises. Things happen to all of us that have the potential to hold us back if we let it. But the difference is that rich people, or people with a rich mindset, believe that they are ultimately responsible for the outcomes in their life, while poor people, or people with a poor mindset, believe that they have little to no control over their life. They blame someone or something else for their current circumstances instead of taking full responsibility for their future. They rationalize and find excuses for the lack of success in their life by saying things like, I'm happy with where I'm at, or money is not that important, rather than appreciating the important role that money has on society and the impact that it has on the quality of their lives and others. Another point the book makes is that rich people choose to get paid based on results, whereas poor people choose to get paid based on time. If you get paid based on time, then your income will always be capped because you only have 24 hours in a day, and most people barely even work 8. But if you get paid based on results, then your income is unlimited because the more results you produce, the more money you earn. If you produce exponential results, then you'll earn an exponential income. Now, of course, this is much more risky because if you don't produce any results, then you don't get paid any money. But this is another point that the book brings up, and it's that people with a rich mindset act in spite of fear, and people with a poor mindset let fear stop them. If you always let fear control your decisions, then you will never succeed at the level that you want. Fear is a good thing when it actually protects us from danger, but fear is not a good thing when it prevents us from trying new things and stepping out of our comfort zone. Imagine if Kobe Bryant was fearful of shooting the ball after missing it 14,500 times, the most in NBA history. Imagine if Thomas Edison became fearful to try and discover electricity after failing 1,000 times. Imagine if the Wright brothers, with no formal education, no money, no support, decided to let fear stop them after hearing people tell them that it would be impossible to build an airplane. Yes, you will be fearful to go out and start that new business, or start that new job, or build that social media following. Whatever it is, you will be afraid. But if you let that fear control you, then you will never make any reasonable progress in your life because you will always be confined to your comfort zone, which does not force you to grow. Alright, that's all I've got for you guys in today's video. If you liked it, go ahead and drop a like down below for the YT algo. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at RealJoshuaMayo, and as always, I will see you again very soon. Take care.